Hey, I got a good question for you guys. What's the point in knowing things if you're not going to put the knowledge into action? And that's just a good point. It's just a good point, man, because why even learn the things in the first place? Like, what's the point of learning the things in the first place if you aren't going to put them into action? Like, why, like, what does it serve you to know that, some child is starving in Africa if you're not going to do something about it? Right? It's just silly because then you're just tacking on burdens of things or good things literally for no reason, right? And yes, you can do that. I'm not saying you can't do that. I have a good friend who knows so much and yet does nothing with the knowledge. And, like I said, he can do that, but why? Why? It seems like such a waste. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you not just want to do something with what you've been given? Especially if it's something like I always talk about the esoteric knowledge things. Like, I guess I'm a bit of a hypocrite, excuse me, because, for a long time there, I didn't do anything with the knowledge. Like, I would tell people about these things, but I wouldn't, put a game plan together to make a YouTube channel or to teach people or whatever. Maybe partially that's because I just wasn't sure about myself yet. So I didn't want to, say something that was entirely incorrect because, you know me, man. I'll just say shit that's not true all the time. And I don't mean to. It's just that, like, fuck, man, I guess I'm my own critic, right? Like I always say. Uh, it's not that I'm necessarily saying things that are untrue either. It's just that, like, I'll tack something on or I'll uh, use something incorrectly or inappropriately or whatever, right? I have a habit of doing that. I've always kind of done that. I'm not really the best with my words. You guys should have seen me in high school. That shit was low-key hilarious looking back because I would just say shit, dude, and the women would hate me for it. Because, the guys will always do stuff that's like not in your face, but more like more straightforward. How about that? Guys will just be more straightforward. And I would treat women the same way that I treat men, right? Where that's one thing that I do look back and I'm like, I'm glad I was doing that at that age because I prefer to treat everybody the same, realistically. Like, I don't like treating people differently because of their ethnicity or their religion or whatever. Like, you're going to give or you're going to get what you're going to give me. And uh yeah, women would kind of take that as like a defensive stance, It's like, why is this guy saying this to me? Why is he being this way? And I didn't mean to. It's just man. I don't know where the fuck I was getting with that. I got interrupted by a car. I'm sure you can connect the dots though. But yeah, like, what's the point of knowing things if you're not gonna act on them? Right? I mean, I always say that. Dude, it really kind of pisses me off because I say that to people and then, they complain about the situation that they're in, right? And then they just fucking do nothing, right? Like, I hate to always use these examples, but I'm talking with my dad and he's going on about, oh, the government's this way and the government's that way. He sounds like me. But at least I have a plan, right? At least I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, I do not like these people. I'm not going to listen to them. I don't give a shit what they say to me, right? They can crucify me. They can do whatever. The moment they start doing that to somebody else, though, I'm going to stand up and do the right thing. And, my plan, you want to call it that, is to do the right thing. But when it comes to, or to, separate myself from the society or do things that are abstract, things that they would never expect. And I look at people, like I said, like my dad, who he gets upset and then he just plays the system. Like, why are you playing the game, bro? Why are you playing the game if it's rigged against you? A dog goes back to its own vomit. It's the same thing. So what's the point of knowing these things, like I keep saying, if you're not going to do anything, right? If you're not going to get a crew together in secret, and I'm not saying I'm doing that, I'm just saying, if you're anti-government, whatever, you should probably be training with friends, or training with people you can trust, or getting together, or, whatever. And yes, I know it's considered unconstitutional, but, or ungovernmental, but honestly, if it's the right thing, it's the right thing. These laws that are made by men are just folly to me, right? I would rather listen to the laws that are written by God. And, that's what sort of sucks, is that I would rather listen to them, but yet I fucking fail on them every time. Every time I mess up one of his laws, man. It's just funny to me, me being so like, oh, the law is great. Like the law is great. It is a very good, set of morals. The problem is we break them, right? And I would love to follow them, but I can't. But believing on the guy who is the law, who did the law, who is the embodiment of perfection, yeah, dude, I'd rather follow him, because that's the will of the Father. The will of the Father is to believe on the Son. So, that kind of gets in line with what I was saying before about knowing these things and not taking action. There are so many people, and I was part of that, right? I was like, I knew these things from Scripture, and yet I didn't even believe on the Son. Like, how silly of me. How funny of me to do that, right? It really is funny that, and I mean funny in the smallest way possible, because when you really get it down into it, it is quite sad that I was doing that and that other people continue to do that. But it is funny that for me, knowing so much, I didn't even recognize the Messiah in front of me, right? No different than the Pharisees. And the guy I was referencing is actually the same way, He just knows so much, and I'm like, yo, so like, what do you think about the Bible? What do you think about the gospel? And then I get fucking clowned on, right? And I love him. He's my friend. But, I just get fucking clowned on by my friends sometimes for believing things that are bigger than me, that are true, right? Like, it's true. I get clowned on by a lot of my friends for that. And I look at, I was going to save this for another video, but maybe I'll talk about it now. This guy, I say guy, it was a kid that had written graffiti on the wall in early Rome. I think it was like 200 AD, roughly around. And, so there was this kid that believed that Jesus was the Messiah and had faith in him. And these other kids knew that, and they wrote graffiti on the wall that said, Alexamos or Alexamenos, serves his God or something like that, or believes his God or whatever, or worships his God, I think is what it said. And, it's an inscription, or it's a graffiti art of Jesus with a donkey's head. And I think there's even a hole in his right side, which is kind of an interesting thing. But, and it's a little graffiti of the guy worshiping that. And then way off in the corner on the wall, it says, Alexamenos, Fideli, or I think is what it says, Fideli, which means Alexamos or Alexamenos, excuse me, I keep saying his name wrong, is faithful. Alexamenos is faithful. And man, dude, I see myself in this fucking kid that was, maybe 8-10 years old. I see myself in this kid, man, because he's just like me. Whether the kids at his school were bullying him for his faith, or whether it was for his friends or what, but, he was banking on something bigger than him, right? He was faithful. And much like myself, I have faith that Jesus will save me, and that he already has saved me, in fact, but that he'll keep me from harm, that he'll do all these things in my favor because he loves me. And there's so much power in that, man. That's one of the things where, like, Christianity, or Christ in general, is a stumbling block for the Jews, and to the Gentiles, or the rest of the nations other than the Jews, it's considered folly. It's like, why would their Messiah, why would their king die? Right? It's like, clearly he's not a king at all, but they mistake the purpose. They mistake what happened. They're not smart enough to comprehend these things. They really aren't. Because it's so obvious. It's so obvious that he laid himself down, because what king, right? Like, this is the thing, is that kings that have facades, that are pretending to be strong, know that if they lay themselves down, they can see how weak they are. But Jesus was so strong that he laid himself down, and he died by his own hand. Like, he let them do that. He let them torture him to prove a fucking point, man. And to do what was necessary in order to save everyone. And they'll never comprehend that. It's too above their pay grade. It's too high IQ for them to understand that. And what's funny is that it's simultaneously so simple for somebody to believe the gospel that it's almost comical that these people of all different IQs can't believe. It comes down to their heart posture, which I've talked about before. Yeah, dude. It's just, oh man, like, what's the point of knowing these things if you're not gonna have the faith or do these things? And I'm not saying that your works matter. Like, your works do not matter. And it's not backloading and it's not front-loading the gospel with works either. I'm tired of that shit. Being a 25-year-old, living under condemnation, like I keep saying, for a couple of years, and then seeing that pushed onto other people just makes me want to fucking send a right hook straight through, their jaw. Because when I was under works condemnation, I wasn't forcing that onto other people. But there are people who do that. And then, they turn around and they're like, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm perfect, I'm so-and-so. Like, I'm going to use another example here. This morning, I'm having a talk with my dad. And, man, I love doing this. Because I do this shit for the love of the game. Because my dad set his own trap, right? So we're kind of having a conversation. And I have a foosball table that I got as a Christmas present a while ago for the shop. And, I got it from my mom, and my dad is like, well, why don't we sell it and put money towards the bathroom? And I'm like, I agree, but the money should go to mom, and then mom can decide whether she is going to gift us with the money or not, because it's the right thing to do. She bought it. I'm going to give it back to her so that she can sell it, make money, and then, if she wants to give me money, she can. And my dad's trying to pull a fast one on me and be like, oh, mom and dad, me and mom have, joint bank accounts and all this other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not the point, is it? The point is doing the right thing, not whether the money was yours or was it. It's about doing the right thing because I want to do the right thing. And then, I ask him, this is, like I said, the perfect trap, man. I ask him, I was like, do you think you're a good person? And without a hesitation, he goes, yeah, I think I'm a good person. It's like, okay, so you just showed me you aren't, because you lied. You lied. So you've already broken one of the 10 commandments. So how can you be a good person? Right? Like, I don't think I'm a good person. Now, I'll say in the worldly sense, sure. Right? Because, and he would say in the worldly sense, sure. Right? Because we're going to turn around and be like, oh, compared to a whatever. But no, in God's standard, no, we are not good, man. We're not good. And maybe I'll even take that back. Maybe I'll say in the worldly sense, you know what? I'm not good. I'm not good, because I look at so many people that are just so much better than I am, and they're great. And, it's, it's so interesting. I actually see a lady that I know that just pulled up next to me here. She doesn't know, she doesn't see me yet, but she's one of the people from the church, so I might say hello. So I'll see you.